Hi, everybody. This is Alan Fine, and I'm here with Paula Twydale, who is the Senior Vice President of Travel for AAA. And if you're under 16, you need to know that that's the American Automobile Association. And we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? Travel at this time in the United States with this particular crisis. And this is Insider Travel Report. Paula, thank you for talking to us.
Always nice to speak with you, Alan.
Thank you. So where are you and how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm in Florida, so that's new for me because I'm usually in the Northeast. So I've moved to Florida. I'm working out of the Heathrow office and enjoying my time in the warm weather, especially in the wintertime.
For me, I look forward to your yearly reports for Memorial Day. And this is the first time in 20 years where it just seemed like this is silly. What are we going to report? Talk about that for a moment, please.
Well, the Memorial Day forecast is so popular with everyone, but it's dependent on economic data, good economic data, and we really didn't have that. It was just up in the air, and we felt that we wanted to make sure things were accurate, and we just thought it wasn't readily available. It would be erroneous information, and we opted to not report it. It's the first time in 20 years that we've not reported on the Memorial Day forecast, and so many people asked us for it, but we felt compelled to not report rather than report something that was incorrect.
Was that a unanimous decision, or did you have to come by it and discuss it for a while?
But no, it was a unanimous decision. I mean, really, AAA is, Alan, AAA has been in business for 118 years, and we're a federation association, and we do right by our members and consumers. So we wanted to make sure we've got a brand to uphold, and people really rely on that data. So we wanted to make sure we were doing the right thing. So it was unanimous.
Well, now, so to save you from remembering, I did a little research. Last year, 43 million U.S. travelers. It was the second highest since 2000. The lowest, though, was 31 million. Now, I know we beat that this year. Do you have any guess for this year? Are any numbers coming in at all so that we can make sense of how the downturn actually was?
Well, we really don't. We know it was significantly lower than last year, and you're right, it was 43 million, and 2009 was the 31 million, which is our lowest. But we don't really know where it came in because we didn't measure the data. So unfortunately, we know it was low. People were still in that phase because a lot of the phases didn't start opening up till June 1. So again, that Memorial Day, you could see that people were getting on the road, and there was a bit of an uptick on vehicles because more people were now at the gas pumps putting gasoline in their car, and at $1 it was $1.87 a gallon. Now it's inching closer to $2. So you can see the propensity of people getting on the road, but again, because we didn't measure the data, we really can't say, oh, it was X. So we're going to avoid saying that.
But there's one piece of data you probably do have, because the actual emergency car rescues that AAA does. Do you have that number for us?
Well, we do usually have that number, but we didn't compile it for the forecast. So internally, keep in mind, because we have regions all over the country that we provide emergency service, we know clearly that the emergency road service was down because less people were on the road. Here's the good news. So good news, bad news. Sometimes when you get more calls for emergency road service, you also know that more people are starting to get in their automobiles and start traveling. So we've seen that in the last couple of weeks. So when you measure, you look at all those economic indicators, and that's part of it. But we clearly didn't do that forecast for Memorial Day. So part of it is saying, hey, we had 350 million people that we serviced over the Memorial Day weekend. That's historic, but we really don't know collectively as an association what that panned out to be this year because we didn't measure the figures.
When can we expect the next forecast from you guys?
So in comparison, normally we put one out for the summertime, right? So this year we decided, well, we won't put it out really for the summer, like pre-summer forecasting. We're going to actually put one out around Q3, sort of end of summer, beginning of fall, because now as things start opening up, there'll be a higher propensity for people to get on the road to travel. We thought that would be a good time to start measuring. But I can tell you that a little bit of insight. Back in February, which is kind of pre-COVID as far as the lockdowns were concerned, 173 million Americans were going to travel for the summer. That's a huge number. It's higher. So a lot of people had plans. And back in February, of those plans, about 90% of them were going to be domestic. So funny enough how it pans out, and we certainly believe that now, that most of the people that will travel domestically, staying closer to home and cars and things like that. And we can chat about that in a moment. But to measure in perspective, that was a big number for the summer. So we will start to see slowly some of that coming back because there is a pent-up demand. I think people want to be safe and secure when they're out on the road and feel that they can do that and have a good time.
Well, that's true. And I feel, well, so we'll look forward to the fall. I definitely want to see those numbers pick up. That would be great. And also I want to see the travel index.
And that's something that we do report on and we continue to measure because for people that are watching, it's really, we're measuring pricing. We're looking at pricing indexes and how it fares for air, car, and hotel. And that's something that we incorporate in our Memorial Day and our summer forecast every year. So we are still measuring that. And I can tell you now that measures off of like a 28-day trending. And it's like this point in time this week from last year. So it's week over week, year over year. And currently we've seen that airline ticketing has been down in price for about 3.5% to 3.9%, just under 4%. Your car rental the car rental prices actually have gone up. It's about just over 18% up over last year. But the reason for that is not surprising because last year they were pretty pricey earlier in the year and they started dropping the prices. So when you're looking year over year, you're looking at that. And hotels, on the hotel side, we look at the 2 and 3 diamond frame, anywhere from like down 19 to 25% in price. So to give the folks that are watching an idea of where we stand at a point in time and how that's trending, bottom line is week over week now, we're seeing a little inching up, which is a telltale sign that travel's coming back. It's coming back slowly. Those low prices, even though they were lower than last year, this is like a double negative, but they're less lower than they were last year as weeks go on.
So how are the AAA advisors doing during the crisis, and how are you working with them and helping them?
But they're spending a lot of time right now learning and training. They're just going through everything to hone in on destination training to really be those experts that they need to be for all the different destinations around the globe. So this is a really good time to catch up and be ready for that insurge of different people booking again going forward. So yeah, perfect time for it. What they've really been working on a lot over the last several weeks, they've worked tirelessly to get people home that were stranded, that were home international, and they really were the advocates. Our travel counselors, we have really, honestly, and I feel very passionate about it because we have some of the best folks in the industry as our travel counselors. They're knowledgeable, they're professional, they've traveled the world. And, when the time came where people were stranded, Ellen, and they had no one to call, and they called because it was DIY, they booked it themselves, they found themselves going on an empty line or lines that were engaged for hours upon hours. So, hats off to the travel counselors there. And they need to know these index numbers because it's going to help people plan for the future as they look forward and travel. So
they had to get guests back. And then they had to deal with cancellations or postponements. How did that shape up?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, they were, as an advocate, they're sort of like lobbying for that member that's traveled. They had to work on the rebookings and the future travel credits and engage every travel supplier and be that intermediary. And they really stood the length of time for them. They also rebooked them for the future. A lot was rebooked for later in the year in 2021. They also went after refunds for the people that really couldn't travel. So again, they were really a true advocate. An example of how collaborative they were, which we're kind of, really touched by there's so many stories. I can't even go into all of those, but I'll give you one example. Right? And that being, folks coming back, they were stranded in Egypt. And we had a couple of clubs in different regions collaborate together to get these people home. They worked tirelessly to get them home. They get repatriated. They have to go to different gateways. They have to work on air and reprotection and making sure that's rebooked when they could get them home on an available flight. And that's no small feat. And when you're in this business, that's where a travel counselor comes into play and is really your best friend. I used to always joke about it. When you do it yourself, who are you going to call? Yeah, I say, call Ghostbusters, right? You're on the phone by yourself trying to figure it out when you're stuck, right? So our travel counselors did a great job there. And
I assume they also helped when the refunds weren't coming.
Yes, I mean a lot. They tried to get creative and say, what could we do? Could we get a travel certificate? Could we move money? Could we transfer it to another booking? And we work. Again, I want to praise the suppliers we work with too. It's unfair to say it's just not always the consumer. We're very intentional in terms of the preferred suppliers we work with. We work with great cruise lines and tour operators. And they really, because of our relationship with them, have done a great job in working on helping us, provide those refunds or those future travel credits for the consumers. So it is really a two-way street. And the travel counselors played a big role in that. Our national office did, our travel subcommittees and the clubs, and the suppliers that we work with. So hats off to them, because having, Alan, for me being in the industry a long time, I worked on that side of the fence. I worked in the airline industry and I worked in the tour operator industry. And it's no small feat on their side when they took all revenue in and they have a refund and on the fly start to rebook people themselves. It's very difficult.
Now, financially, how are they staying afloat? We have the government programs and all that. How does that affect AAA?
Well, I mean, AAA is fine. We have a solid balance sheet, and we like I said, we've been in business 118 years. We took measures to really consolidate what we needed to do, and our people are great and strong, so we don't have any issues there. And we keep in mind, I love travel, and that's my business line, and that's what I represent. But AAA also has automotive with travel, with financial services, and insurance services. So we're a solid company. Yeah, we're very broad-based and diversified. And then the travel suppliers we work with, again, many of them, as you know, our paths across, I'll plug USTOA for the tour operators, USTOA to have a solid balance sheet. So we recognize how difficult it is for these travel suppliers because they lost a lot of revenue. And it's hard for AAA, too. We lost revenue. But I think we're trying to do our best collectively in this industry to weather the storm and to really do the right thing so that we take care of people now so that they remember how they felt during bad times. So they're going to come back to you again in good times so that they'll rebook for the future and encourage people to travel because they want to. The pent-up demand is there. It's no doubt.
With domestic travel being the next thing that as we grow out of this, so there's going to be a lot of driving, and I'm assuming that the AAA clubs are going to be very important for the people who are then going out and hitting the road.
Absolutely. We really, and there's a lot of data behind this. Many people have done surveys and sentiment surveys. The sentiment really for the consumers and our members from our club surveys have been people really want to travel. They can't wait to get out and go, but they're going to stay closer to home to start out. So they're going to take those baby steps. They're going to stay closer to home. They're going to take car trips. So the road trip, the Great American Road Trip, is something that we're focusing on. In fact, we have a lot of itineraries and things off of our website at AAA.com. But in addition to that, we focus on the TripTik, TripTik. .AAA.com. It's our original mainstay, but
gotten my share of those in my time.
Yeah, right. When you go in, you map them out. But, electronically, if you go online to the TripTik at AAA.com, you're going to not only see your own journey, because now you're getting in the car and you're suddenly taking this longer journey that maybe you would have flown before. So now you're going to go from point A to point B. You can map out the stops. We also put what we call a COVID map online. So you can look at if you're crossing state borders, we'll let you know what's closed and what's open. And that's really helpful. And we have lots of tips on how to stay healthy on the road. So we're really advocates for that, and that's exciting. And a lot of what people are looking at today are now on those road trips are the national parks and canyons and, and California, Big Sur or Route 66, and just enjoying the U.S. and going back to that number pre-COVID, 90% of people planning travel was for the United States, was domestic. So it kind of goes hand in hand in what we're focusing on. And
it's kind of tricky to be able to navigate how to get a reservation to go to each of these places.
Yes, and that's where the travel counselor comes into play. And truthfully, if you're calling on your own, even you must call ahead. You want to make that reservation. You want to make the plans ahead of time. And you also want to talk to that property where you're going to stay overnight to understand what their safety protocols and cleanliness protocols are. Now, they've all changed. A lot of them are using electrostatic sprayers and sealing rooms and things like that, contactless entry. You really want to check all of that out before you make the journey. And also along the way, planning out where you're going to stop and make sure you have food and planning that journey very differently, a little bit more enhanced than you would have like years ago, just taking a road trip before.
And just a reminder, when we say reservation, we don't just mean lodging. We also mean just to get into a park, a national park.
That's a good point.
To allow for the distancing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because everything, whether it's a restaurant or a park or attraction, everything now is going to be condensed 50% or 25% occupancy. So that's going to create longer lines, availability, make a reservation and plan ahead so you can avoid some of that, and just know when the appropriate time is to go so you can enjoy that time and not spend it, being disappointed or planning where you're going to make those critical stops along the way.
Do we have any numbers on the booking now for 2021 and 2022? Is the obvious happening?
Yeah, well, I don't have solid numbers for it, but I can tell you that we're looking up. I mean, we're looking up, and every supplier will tell you that. A lot of what canceled for 2020, many people rebook for 2021. And specifically, people ask about cruises. It's like, oh, cruises will be the last. Our cruise numbers are looking great for 2021. People are still booking cruises, and they call up to book these cruises. There may be a little less volume as to what we would get in terms of number of people actually making a booking now, but it's still a healthy number, and we're very optimistic about 2021.
All right. So in general, what will travel look like as we proceed?
Okay, let me look into
crystal ball.
Okay, it's crystal ball. If people are going to start slow, they're going to be cautious. They're going to go out because guess what? A lot of people right now are on bikes. They're getting on a bike and they're going out biking because they want to get out of the house, right? So they're going to want to get out. They're going to walk. They're going to bike. They're going to camp. They're going to hike, adventure, great outdoors. And then beyond that, there will be slow steps to now then move. Of course, as restrictions are lifted, we feel it will be domestic. But as international starts to lift, Mexico and the Caribbean are going to come back quicker than anything else. Certainly Hawaii is already on the list of domestic locations anyway. And then we have to think about, what does international look like? International so I'm a very big fan of international, because international brings a lot to the economies overseas. It also brings a lot inbound. So as these borders open up, Alan, it's really important to see that people start traveling internationally. The key thing is the airlines and the hoteliers really have to get it right in terms of safety and figure out how they're going to make people feel comfortable. Once that confidence level comes up, right? Confidence is everything. Confidence level comes up, you're going to see people book. That's the crystal ball. And hopefully, looking up and saying, hopefully that nothing retreats back, or we see a COVID come back to us a second round or anything like that. We want to keep moving forward. If we can move forward successfully now, slower and easy pace, we will gradually see this start to come back, and it will come back in a bigger way. Once that confidence level comes back and people feel safe, I feel very adamant that people are just dying to get out there and go. And everybody you talk to says the same thing, right? You and I can't wait to get on an airplane and go someplace. I said the other day, I've been to 39 countries. I want to get out and go someplace. So I'm excited about it.
So as we part, the one final thing, do you have any final words for travel advisors on what they should be doing at this time and what they should be saying to their clients?
Well, travel advisors should talk about how they're the advocate for the consumer, because they are. They know, we always used to say, we know because we go, we understand this business, and really exude confidence and really plan to help that person who's asking for advice to plan accordingly so we can get through these steps, and then gradually understand where that person wants to travel and be able to look at everything around them to plan it accordingly and know that they can count on that travel advisor, because they can, and they're talented, they're professionals, and they're there in good times and bad times. And by all accounts, it's hassle-free. Most people don't even realize this. Well, I can do this myself. My answer is why would you? Honestly, why would you? You have an expert that's at your disposal. And truthfully, as a AAA member, even if it was a nominal fee, as a AAA member, most of them are waived because you are a member. And they're already exercising. If I want to invest, I'm going to a financial advisor. That's not my competency. Use somebody who's competent. That's their competency. Why are you messing around and doing this on your own? You can certainly have input. Here's the difference between 20 and 30 years ago and today. A travel advisor really should understand, and they do, that person traveling wants to feel like they have input, because it's their vacation, it's their time out. Let them have input, understand, listen to what they want to do, where they want to go, and then
listen to their fears and help them with their fears.
Yes, help them quell their fears and really give them choices, because every vacation or every trip is not the same. It depends on the dynamics. Is it family? Is it luxury? Is it a couple? Do they have children? Do they have activities? Note the nuances of what is going to happen. That travel advisor can plan accordingly and give you the right product at the right price point that matches what you want to do. If you're a business traveler, you might be doing something in business, but when you go with your family and you have little children or grandchildren, you're going to go to a hotel that has a pool, right? As a business traveler, you're like, oh, I'm too busy for that. So it really understanding the environment in which we're making those travel reservations really is going to make all the difference in the world to a successful trip. Stay positive, right? Stay positive and understand what they want.
Great advice. Well, Paula, thank you for talking to us and bringing us up to date, but we look forward to these reports coming out in the fall, and we know it's all going to be, I hope we've hit bottom. It's got to be better than this.
I feel we have. I think we really just need to look at staying safe, using, being smart about what we do, social distancing right now, but really take those measures, because if we can get over that hurdle, we're starting to see online bookings right now are modestly increasing. So by the way, Alan, we're seeing those signs to wrap up, because IATA, ARC, the airlines, you can see those, TSA, you can see little increments of hope and momentum happening. As long as that momentum continues, trust me, when it finally sticks and people realize, like, okay, I can do this, and they feel good about it, they're going to go, and it's going to come at lightning speed. So be ready.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alan.
And this is Alan Fine for Insider Travel Report.